It has given culture a commonplace expectation of mankind being in space, and albeit it's a highly childish and silly thing, naff, fair description. It's deep in the culture, unconsciously there in your childhood and stuff, affecting the way you think. I think that's a fair point.
It's made this world more multicultural and stuff.
Well, one example is like sick bays and stuff. The sick bay in like Star Trek, there's lots of other like hospital things. So you have like monitors telling people health stuff that you might not have had without Star Trek. Various sick bays.
Well, I'm not sure if it's changed the world. It's certainly opened my eyes since I first saw Star Trek in the 60s when it first came out. And it in fact inspired me to go out and show my parents to get a colour television. Well, I've enjoyed Star Trek myself as a child, and now I'm enjoying Star Trek again with my children, seeing all new all over again from a different point of view. So it has inspired us as a family.
In my case, I've enjoyed it as a series, and I saw it from the first one, and basically it became clear that the first series, the original, was like moral tales, balance of terror, and things like that, and the whole idea of it being sort of, you could be different but together sort of thing, and it's developed into a series where previous enemy species like the Klingons and the Romulans have ended up being allies against a greater evil. And I suppose in a certain way, although it's entertainment, it's sci-fi, like all good sci-fi, there's like a moral tale to it, and so it's, I suppose it, because of the worldwide culture of it, it's something that can cross barriers. Even in its early days it was provocative, like the famous Uhura kiss and balance of terror. It was sort of saying, look, that's dealing with the Cold War, sort of, and sort of things like that. So we can say it is quite a moral thing, sort of thing, and like the first black prominent female first officer and sort of things like that. And no, out of eight there's problems, there's crises, but they are resolvable. Although with the later series there was the dark side of it, with the War of the Jem'Hadar and things like that, and the Borg and things like that, but it was still, and they also dealt with personal crises as well, how father and son relationships, it's all sort of, I'm not saying it's a guide to life, but it's entertainment, and maybe can give you an idea, well, perhaps I should look at things a bit different, look at the world different.
Has Star Trek inspired you in any way?
Star Trek has been an influence in some respects, in that it has some aspects of Star Trek, particularly Next Gen, are very much military, and I'm from a military background myself, so obviously it's kind of nice to see how the military has been shaped in the future, and I think it's very interesting that they do actually live in a communist society where they have no money. But as for personally influencing me, apart from, perhaps it teaching me that people should be more equal, I think that may be the best outcome from watching Star Trek.
Has Star Trek made you think differently about the world we live in?
Star Trek has made me think that we perhaps need more equality in some respects. But I do think it's very interesting how originally Gene Roddenberry meant for the different races to represent different races of people, and therefore there are some stereotypes involved with that, which I do think obviously is of some interest.
Is the equality among race and gender realistic?
Personally, I don't believe that the equality between race and gender is realistic, and in some versions of Star Trek, for instance Deep Space Nine, there is an awful lot of inequality between the species. For instance, if you look at the conflicts between the Cardassians and the Bajorans, and if you look at how an awful lot of times, oh, he's a Klingon, that kind of attitude is taken. It's not necessarily as equal as Star Trek would like to make out that it is. So in some respects, it's an unattainable dream.
of Star Trek items have been made in the real world. What do you think will be the next item to hit the world?
It would be really nice to see the actual. They use the basically video communication, and they've got wonderful quality on this video communication. And although we have the basics of video communication at the moment, it would be wonderful to see it with the clarity that it has in Star Trek, and then also being used for over long distances the way it is used in Star Trek as well.
Do you think the holodeck and transporter are a realistic idea?
The transporter itself is conceivable in that they have tested it on a quantum level, and there is a certain amount of evidence to suggest that they can move particles around. However, they're not entirely sure if they have managed to duplicate the particle or if they've actually moved it. And the question of that also becomes, would you actually be yourself at the other end, or would you be a clone? Which is something, if you did actually get the processing power to deal with all the atoms in a human body, that would have to be thought about. I don't think it's actually something that will ever be possible, certainly not within anyone who is on Earth at the moment in their lifetime. The holodeck, it surprises me they actually even bother with them in Star Trek, because they go wrong so often that I think that they should have had the common sense to ban them by now.
So you can see how many of the technologies that we have today were derived from Star Trek. I mean, it can't have been a coincidence. But for now, the rest is Star Trek history. I'll leave you with a trailer for the new Star Trek film due out later this year.